The Boy Who Carried the Moon. A Nigerian Folktale. Part 1. The Village of Endless Questions. In the time when the earth was still learning its own stories, there stood a village called Ugwuoba, nestled between 7 hills like eggs in a sacred calabash. The village was known throughout the land not for its wealth or warriors, but for something far more peculiar. Every child born there came into the world asking questions. Not the simple questions of ordinary children, "What is that?" or "Why is the sky blue?" But questions that made the elders stroke their beards and the women pause at their grinding stones. Questions like, "Why does fire eat wood but water drinks earth?" and "Where do words go when we finish speaking to them?" Among all these curious children, there was one boy whose questions burned brighter than palm oil lamps in the darkness. His name was Chukwuemeka, which means, "God has done something great," but everyone called him Emeka. He was the son of Okonkwo, a farmer whose yams were the size of a baby's head, and Adis, a woman whose wrapper cloths told stories in every fold. Emeka was born on the night of the full moon, when the village drummer's hands moved so fast, they became invisible, and the ancestors danced in the shadows of the Iroko tree. The midwife, old Moman Keruka, whose hands had caught 300 babies before Emeka, said she saw something strange that night. As the baby emerged into the world, a beam of moonlight fell directly through the window and touched his forehead, leaving a mark shaped like a crescent moon that faded by morning. "This child will travel far," Moman Keruka whispered to Adis. "He will carry light to dark places and bring back wisdom we have forgotten." Adis smiled weakly, exhausted from childbirth, and pulled her son close. She did not know then how true those words would become. Part 2. The question that changed everything. Emeka grew like the rainy season maize, quick and strong. By the time he could walk, he was already helping his father in the farm, his small hands learning to distinguish between the yam seedlings and the weeds. By the time he could run, he was racing with the other children, always the fastest, his laughter echoing across the compounds. But it was his questions that truly set him apart. One day, when Emeka was 7 harvests old, he was sitting with his grandfather, Papa Nana, under the ancient Udora tree in the center of their compound. Papa Nana was telling him the story of how the tortoise got his cracked shell, a tale every child knew by heart. But when the story ended, Emeka did not clap and ask for another story like other children would. Instead, he looked up at his grandfather with eyes that seemed older than his years and asked, "Papa, if the tortoise was once smooth and became cracked through his own greed, does that mean we all carry the marks of our mistakes? And if so, what mistakes did I make before I was born, because Mama says I came out crying like I had already lost something?" Papa Nana's mouth fell open like a fish gasping on land. He stared at his grandson for a long moment, then stood up so quickly his walking stick fell to the ground. "Your father must hear this," he muttered, hurrying toward the house with more speed than his old legs had shown in years. That evening, the family gathered in the Obi, the family meeting place. Emeka's father Okonkwo sat on his carved stool, his face serious. His mother Adi stood nearby, her wrapper tied tight with worry. Papa Nana sat with the other elders who had been called, Ichiokoro, who knew all the proverbs, Motsi Obina, who could read the kola nut patterns, and Lolo Kayameka, the oldest woman in the village, who some whispered had lived through 2 lifetimes. "Tell them what you asked me," Papa Nana said to Emeka. Emeka, feeling small among all these important adults, repeated his question about the tortoise and mistakes and crying at birth. The elders exchanged glances. Ichi Okoro cleared his throat. The boy asks questions that reach for the hem of the ancestors' garments, he said. Such questions are not for children playing in the dust. Motsi Obine nodded slowly. I have thrown the kola nut 4 times since I heard of this question. Each time, the pattern shows the same thing, crossroads. The boy stands at a crossing place. Lolo Kayamika, who had been silent, finally spoke. Her voice was like dried leaves rustling. There is only one place for a child with such questions. He must go to school. The word fell into the room like a stone into still water. School. The mission school in the town of Enugu, 3 days' walk away. A place where children learned to make marks on paper that somehow held meaning. A place where they learned the white man's language and numbers that could count beyond the fingers and toes. School. Okonkwo's voice was sharp. He is my only son. Who will help me with the farm? Who will learn to read the seasons and know when to plant? Your son already reads things deeper than seasons, Lolo Kayamika said. The question is not whether he should go to school. The question is whether you will let him follow his chi, his personal God, or try to tie him to a destiny that is not his own. Adiz, who had been quiet until now, stepped forward. I knew from the night he was born, she said softly. When the moonlight touched him, I knew he would not stay in our compound forever. But knowing and accepting are 2 different things. She looked at her son, tears making her eyes shine like the Adoda stream. Emeka, do you want to go to this school? Emeka felt a strange sensation in his chest, like something was both expanding and contracting at once. He loved his father's farm, loved the feel of fresh earth between his toes, loved the way the yam vines climbed their stakes like children racing to the top. But there was something else inside him, a hunger that was not for food, a thirst that water could not quench. Yes, Mama, he whispered. I want to know the answers. Then you will go, Okonkwo said, his voice heavy with the weight of letting go. But remember this, my son, you can learn all the knowledge in all the schools in all the world, but if you forget where you come from, you become like a tree without roots, easy for any wind to blow down. Thanks for listening. Watch out for part 3 and 4. Goodbye.